Guys, I'm out here on my deck, alright, to talk a little bit about sound. So, let me just show you. Alright, I hope you heard the echo. So, something you take for granted, but it's a big deal right now because it's impacting parts of the Caribbean, and you don't often experience it because you're in the back, but up front is a totally different deal. So sound travels through air at about 1100 feet per second. So I think that comes up to like 350 odd yards per second. So with the football field being 53 yards wide, somebody out in the middle, just a little bit to the back with the drum major out front, is going about 30 yards of travel. So the time delay is 0.08 seconds from that person to the drum major. At 120 beats per minute, a 16th note is worth 0.125 seconds. So it's a little less than a 16th note delay from that player in the middle to the drum major. But that is compounded every beat. So if somebody's listening for audio cues rather than visual cues with the drum major, that means that the music has no choice but to slow down, all right? And that's what we're experiencing right now in parts of the Caribbean. Is the band is listening to the drum line, and the drum line is listening to the band. So that sound is traveling two ways. It's going back and forth. It's going 60 yards. So at that tempo, you can do the math, but you know that it's slowing down by a 16th note every beat. So that's where the dragging is coming from. And this is entirely, the way to fix it is entirely about knowing your musical responsibilities and the band knowing their musical responsibilities. So if you think of the band is generating this tidal wave of sound, and it's coming from out back and it's coming forward, the job of the people up front is to listen to that sound as it comes from the back of the band and add their sound so that the whole thing can move forward together. All right. The job of the drum major is to establish a tempo to the people in the back of the band so they know where to take off from. But the challenge is that when the drum major does a downbeat to match the feet of the people in the back, there's going to be a slight time delay between the drum major's ictus and when they actually hear the sound. So that means that the drum major has always be cognizant that they're pushing the sound. They should always feel like they're ahead of what they're hearing because there's that time delay. In the back, the people way back there they should hear it like on time for themselves. And the people in the front, if they're adding their sound as it's coming from the back, it should sound a-okay to them. They should be playing with the people in the back. However, they will be out of sync with the drum major. So the people up front should be ignoring the drum major. So in Pirates of the Caribbean, that's you, all right? You are up front. You should not pay any attention to the drum major because your job is to add your sound to the sound coming from the back of the field. That means that the people in the back of the field should not be listening to the drums. They should not be listening to any other musical cues coming from the front of the field at all. They should be communicating with the drum major. Likewise, the drum major should be using visual cues from the feet in the back and always pushing the tempo. So audio-wise, the drum major should always feel like that they're pushing the tempo. If the people in the back are listening to the drum line, they should always feel like they're ahead of the drum line's tempo. So the end product of all this is that the sound that's reaching the audience is totally in sync. So you can check this for yourselves. If you listen to a recording of the band from up in the press box and you hear the drum major's tweets, that tweet, 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 and then that rup with the taps on the snare drum, they're off, always off by this tiny amount. And that's not because the snare drummer's don't know how to do their taps. It's just that they're responding to the audio tweet, and there's like just a little less than a 16th note of a time delay between what's happening in the back and when the sound reaches the front. So from the band standpoint, it's going to require a degree of musical maturity to understand that they need to anticipate that beat, they need to work with the drum major, and they always need to be pushing. From an audio standpoint, it will always feel like they're pushing the drum line to go faster. From the drum line's perspective, you need to realize that you need to be strong enough to take a back seat. And that's like kind of hard, because when things are falling apart, it's usually just crank out those quarter notes and just pull the band back together. But it's not your responsibility in this song to hold the beat. It's your responsibility to add the flair and the embellishment and kind of the cool flair, to the song. But it's the band that's got to hold the beat. And the drum major has got to have the musical maturity to say, I'm going to ram this band. I have got to conduct to the center of the pulse in the back of the band, and I'm always going to feel like I'm pushing them because the sound is going to arrive late. So that's kind of the story. Bill Bachman did a really, really good presentation on sound delay and what it means. So I definitely encourage you to YouTube it. I'll find a way to put like a link to that in the comments. So check it out and think about that and share it with whoever you want. I'm cool like sharing it with like the drum majors of the band, or whoever you want. And I guess we'll rep it in field rehearsal next week and see how it turns out. And just so you know, here's, for your listening pleasure, the sound of science. The sound of science. See you when I see you.